Welcome to Sex and Care Cafe. My name is Bartleby Ross.
Welcome. This is Eve Monique.
Okay, so today we are going to be talking about
Many ways to have sex. And when do you know what way to choose?
right. There's many ways to have sex. It's true.
Yeah.
So what ways? What
Yeah,
ways?
Like you can have wild sex or very cuddly sex.
Yeah.
Or you can have, like daring or
Daring, like public.
public sex.
Yeah, public. Well, there's some of my favorite unusual sex has been public.
Yes.
Restaurants, restaurant bathrooms.
Yes. Hotel, restrooms.
Back of the airplane.
Yes. Cars.
You know, I think one of my first sexual experiences was in the back of the cinema. Doesn't happen so much anymore, but it used to be a really big deal to get the back row, so you could
have some sexual
some kind of
fun.
sex. Yeah.
Yes. So there's so many ways that you can enjoy sexuality, but a lot of people stay with one or two ways. Unless you're just starting to have sex with somebody, then it's all over the place, most likely.
Yeah, because when you first start out with somebody, I think you just want to do it wherever and whenever you can.
Yes. And then somehow you're freed up in your mind because some passion and energy takes you over that just stuff happens and you allow it to happen.
Yes, you do. You're out of your box. You're uninhibited.
Yeah, you're passionate. You're alive. You're excited.
Taking risks.
And you don't care. You just want to express.
Right.
But then
what happens
later?
Yeah.
Then it gets kind of like in a relationship. It gets kind of in a kind of, how do you call that?
A routine, a slump. Yeah, I've certainly experienced quite a few of those slumps at different times.
Even if your relationship looks okay, but then there's like no sex happening.
Right.
Or just sex that you kind of like look at the ceiling and kind of wonder when it's done.
Yeah.
Or you kind of like are in your mind doing something completely different that has nothing to do with sex. You're not even present with your own sex.
Yeah. Okay, so we know, I mean, we've certainly experienced that. I've experienced that a number of times, I have to say.
Yeah, me too.
And I've actually, in a way, ended up, I think, breaking up because, in a way, I mean, that became one of the most significant things or the symptomatic things that things were really kind of off the rails.
Or not right.
Yeah.
There was a disconnect with your partner at the time.
And didn't, in a way, put in the effort and didn't maybe communicate that there was another possibility or a lot of possibilities.
Where did the desire go?
Where did the desire go? Yeah. I mean, I feel like for myself, it's interesting because we watched Sex Date just the other night, the movie, Cameron Diaz movie.
Yes.
We could see that, this couple, the whole thing about them being hot and heavy, like really hot for each other.
We all know that.
Yeah. And then they got buried under their routine of their kids and their jobs or whatever and didn't know how to get out of it. Well, they kind of, at some point, several years along in the routine, they decided to have a sex date.
Yeah, because they kind of were okay with it for a long time, and then they didn't even realize they didn't have sex, or they tried to create it but never followed through. Like there was no desire for it, really.
Yeah.
Till something happened. And then they start trying. And they were trying to create something they had in the past.
Yes.
And that was not connected to who they were now.
Yes.
So they were trying to do all these things from their old vision of themselves.
I know.
Which was a total disconnect. And that's why nothing what they tried, even from your mind you would think, oh, that would be a nice thing to do. It wouldn't flow.
Yeah.
Because they were trying to recreate how they were in the past, which you're not.
Right. Well, I've certainly been guilty of that plenty,
Me too.
With partners, trying to recreate some way that we've been in the past. And you know what's interesting when I think about that is even, I feel like I've done that even in recent times, tried to recreate what happened last night.
Yeah.
Like the sex was this way last night, and I
I want that again.
Yeah.
And then try to do it without being really in touch with yourself. Is like, what wants to happen? What wants to be expressed? And you have to be so in tune with where you are and trust and allow something to unfold. Because if you don't do it and you try to create something that's not real inside of you, you're actually disconnected from your partner and disconnected from yourself, and the result, you will not be able to follow through with the experience. It will get stuck on some level, some point, because it's not really real. And those are very difficult moments during sex in dating or relationship.
Right. I have to say, I feel, in this conversation, when I was a younger man, I feel like I had just like a couple of positions that I did.
Yeah, they were comfortable with those?
Yeah.
Or you liked them?
I liked them. I felt like she liked them.
Safe, it works.
I was good at them.
Yeah, I know that. Women have that too. You have, like for myself, there were certain ways that I liked it because then I knew for sure I could come easy, So then you got kind of in a pattern and in a habit. And then before I knew it, I was kind of underneath, a little bored. And then I got in my mind and I would think about things that I needed to do that were on my desk, or, I wasn't really in tune with myself and with my partner anymore. And then it got, things go really downhill from there.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we're identifying two things from what I'm hearing. One is really being sensitive to yourself and your partner so that you're moving in the present moment in sex, whatever that might be, which may be very quiet sex, maybe cuddly sex, could be really powerful, kind of more aggressive sex, and maybe it is, using a toy. Maybe it is being in a public place, but somehow you're doing it from a connected place. And the second point I feel like is really important, which I'm learning more and more, is communication.
Yes, communication, because if you are in a place that you're not connected, or the partner that you're with is not connected, you feel that. And if you let that go on, you're ready for disaster, really.
Yeah.
It's better to just stop something and say, hey, let's just tune in here.
Yes.
This is, something feels not right. Let's just take a break and, get something to drink or just talk about what's going on. Where are you?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I think we were talking a little bit before we started the hangout that we both experienced like being given like a blowjob, say, that's going on or going on, like, and it's kind of out of touch, and how important it is just to feel, if I'm doing that, which I've certainly done, overdone something or been too pushy or been doing something for too long, just to have my partner put their hand and just like, hey,
how are you?
Yeah, or just to change it up, just to, so you get connected again, so that you're not doing something on rote or...
Yeah, or on habit.
On habit, yeah.
Because also when you are not doing that, it's actually care for the other person to change it up, because there's nothing worse than having sex that is not connected and you're kind of waiting for it to be over. And in a relationship, you would think it's easier to do that, but it's actually not. It's almost as hard as in dating to do the change of it and to trust yourself to speak up with love and or with care or respect. This is not feeling good to me right now.
Yeah, right. So many ways to have sex. Actually, we're talking, in fact, right now about many ways to have sex within one kind of sexual encounter.
Yeah, but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
In all different time periods with the same partner, or you're dating and you have the second date or the third date that you have a sexual encounter on, and that you don't try to recreate what was, because that was good. Trust something more than the past. And also don't be in the future, because then you're also not present. You just have to be really connected and present to yourself.
Right.
And future can mean, something in your mind. Can even, people have like porn in their minds and they're not connected to their partner, and it's not going to have a really good feeling for within that situation if that happens.
Yeah. I mean, I know for myself, like with my partner, when we're really connected, I mean, I think we've used this metaphor before, but it truly is like a dance. You don't know where it's going to go. It just has its own kind of movement.
Mm-hmm.
And that movement can be anything. It can be bossa nova. It can be a
Mm-hmm.
out and out, heavy metal. It can be like a sweet,
Yeah.
flute.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean you cannot fantasize while you have sex, because that you can do that and still stay connected in your being to the other person and stay in tune with what's going on while you have a feeling of something going on in yourself around a fantasy. Because it's all about, not really about thinking in sex, it's about feeling.
Yeah.
Because when you're just thinking, there is a disconnect again.
Right.
And then you're not connected, you're just in your mind.
Right. Yeah.
So, the mind is actually a big block.
Right.
In sex.
Yeah, and for guys, of course, if you're in your mind, it's pretty hard to get an erection.
Because you're not connected to even yourself. And same thing for women. If we're in our minds, forget about orgasm.
Yeah.
It doesn't really happen there. You could just go through the motion of something.
Right.
And that's why people can have a lot of sex, but they still can't feel anything.
Right.
Because they're not present with where it's happening, and that's not in the mind. It's feeling yourself sensual and sexual, and let that feeling take you over, and the feeling in the moment creates how you're going to express it.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good, Eve. I mean, I just want to add that is the same in masturbation as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very similar.
Yeah. Very
similar.
Right.
And that's a good way to practice for yourself through masturbation, to learn to feel yourself. Because once you learn to feel yourself through masturbation, you can actually be more present with your partner. You can help more. You can communicate better what you like and how you feel, because you're not trying to figure out how to feel something. You're just used to feeling yourself and expressing yourself, and you share yourself in that way, instead of thinking about it and trying to create something and then, worry about it and, like that. It's a very different end result of pleasure, actually.
Right. Let's check in with Celia. We have Celia with us today. Celia, thank you very much for joining us in today's cafe. Do you have some thoughts and feelings about this subject?
You just took me down memory lane is what you did. The different ways of having sex, it just took me back to, I was married to somebody who was very adventurous. I wasn't, but he certainly was, and I just went with him wherever he went. And I mean, talk about not being in a routine. It was always something different. It seemed like that way. I mean, whether it was, he was an exhibitionist, so there was a lot of fucking on the beach, with other people around, and it wasn't like a private beach or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Or driving along the highway, and we'd see an orchard, and there was always a blanket in the car. We'd get out under an orange tree. Yeah, an orchard, like oranges or apples or something, in the San Joaquin Valley. Just spray it up, spread the blanket out and go under a tree, and there might be workers in the next row or something, but that didn't stop us. I'm amazed now when I think about it, just how I just went along with him. And as far as fantasies, I felt like I didn't have a lot of fantasies, because I feel like I was always like just helping him with his fantasies. Whether it was a threesome. I didn't ever participate in an orgy, but he did. He went off and did an orgy one time. I wasn't interested, but I was fine with having a girlfriend of mine and the two of us being with him, or stripping down and putting on a little French apron, and making brownies. There was one time, there was the three of us, and he said, "Why don't you just go and dress up like a French maid, with a little white apron, totally naked except for the little white apron." Fortunately, we had some instant brownies that I could pop in the oven immediately, and then come with my my tray and little brownies, and the three of us sat there and ate brownies. It wasn't even just about having sex; it was just the fantasy and the playfulness and just fun. It was just fun. And I think one of my favorites is he was 6'3", I'm 5 feet, and we had a Volkswagen. And to make love in the back seat of a Volkswagen, that is pretty challenging with a tall man like that. But whatever, whatever just hit us at that moment, we just did it.
You must be very connected together.
I think we were. I don't know what it was. I really liked him. I was really attracted to him, especially when we first got together, and he had a nice big cock, and it was just easy to just, make love to him, get fucked by him. And I think it never got old for us, because I also had lovers on the side. And so somehow I don't think I felt very guilty or shame or anything, because when I would go off and be with somebody and then I'd come back and be with him, I just wanted to give more to him for some reason. I didn't never try to figure it out. I just know that somehow having these other lovers on the side just made me want to give more to him, and fulfill his fantasies. Who knows? But it never got old for us, and I think part of it just had something to do with my also being freed up to be with other men during our time together. Anyway, there was just a lot of variety, a lot of the train. We were on a trip once to Seattle, and we weren't in a compartment, but once the lights went down, I just ended up sitting on top of him and having intercourse with other passengers sitting right next to us. It's crazy, but we did it,
Well, you've certainly given us plenty of food for thought, I have to say, Celia.
Well, I had a nice interesting background here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like, what Celia's talking about, a few things. Playfulness.
Yes.
Love.
There was a lot of that. A lot of playfulness.
Yes.
And don't try to recreate the same thing. Just be with what is and play again.
And if playfulness leads to sex, great. And if playfulness leads to more playfulness, great. But playfulness, play with each other. I think that keeps things really alive. And I think also, Celia talked about like giving. She wanted to give to him. Giving to each other. Like let that
caring.
Be like, caring. Giving and caring.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's very important, because even, whatever situation you try to have an experience, make sure at least you have care and respect. At least,
Right.
Because not everybody's in a relationship, and people do have sex without care and respect, really being connected to the person they're having sex with.
Yeah. Well, I think that's probably a pretty good note for us to complete this Sex and Care Cafe. Thank you to Celia very much for your insight and your playfulness
and your sharing. Thank you for coming.
And we look forward. We'll look forward to talking to you again soon.
Yes.
Okay. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.